Bingo. So we left off, and I'm going to do a little experiment today to see if this will work. I didn't pre-screen these, but I almost forgot I had them. So I'm going to share this screen and see.
Remember the fig tree.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I took some videos as we were doing some things, and they're short, but I'll play a few, and we'll see if it is interesting, and if not, we'll go back to.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sunday during the sermon, when you said that, I think, and I wanted to clarify, you said you went down in the, like, what was it called? Not a.
It was a cistern.
A cistern. So
Yes.
you went down in the cistern and you said if you had to stay there,
It was.
do you have a picture?
I
of
have
that?
a picture, and I showed them, I think, Monday, Thursday, but I'll show them
So
again.
Jesus
How
was
did you
put
get in there?
the
Yes.
cistern hole?
Yeah.
Now,
Well, they
was
had
that
steps
after
down
he
into
was
it. No,
beaten
that wasn't
or
included.
after, before, when he was arrested and it was a holding tank?
I don't know the exact time
How
frame, but it was horrible. And it's chiseled out of solid stone, and it's 20 feet high.
Oh my
And it's
God.
like you're standing in a bottle.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh.
Oh, I would.
And
that's a
the
good
so
one.
the walls are all cold and jaggedy from the
Claustrophobic.
chiseled stone. And then, now, of course, now they've put a staircase in there for us to go up, but that wasn't there, of course.
Right.
There's a hole at the top, and they would put a rope down in, and pull you out. But it was a water cistern to start with.
Right.
And so there's an opening and they chisel out like two windows, and there's a little post that they leave in between. And then coming down towards it, they have a slope that they've chiseled out. And for some reason, somehow they channeled water in there, and that's where they stored water. But this was, when you read in the Old Testament, Jeremiah, he was imprisoned in a similar situation. When the king wanted to.
Excuse me, Jim.
Yes.
What should we be seeing?
Nothing.
I was going to show a video, but I digressed because of the.
Oh, cool. Okay.
There we go. I'm sorry. There's nothing to see. Nothing to see.
Okay. I was seeing a computer screen. I thought, what did I miss? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Video, but today is the day to kind of go in different directions, I guess.
So not to be dumb, but what did they do? Just throw the person in the system?
Yeah, in this, so
So they don't lower them
about,
in.
so
Yeah,
let's see, I've got to
so-
think. So I'm 6'8", another 4 to 5 feet up is the bottom of those windows that they cut out,
Wow.
where the water used to come in. And it's got this jaggedy slope. And what they do is they grease it with olive oil. And they throw the prisoner on this slope, and then so you fall about 10 to 12 feet onto the concrete.
And probably break your
solid
bones.
stone floor.
Oh, you can break
Easily.
the back.
They don't
neck,
have-
your
Yeah.
legs.
No.
Oh my
And
gosh.
of course, there's no light whatsoever, maybe unless they had something coming in through that
That would do
opening.
it for me.
And I've got a picture, a video of us praying with the whole group in there. It was about maybe 12 feet around, maybe 10, I don't know. But I will show you that again. Um, But yeah, it was very, very stark. And had I been tossed into there with other criminals and,
Yeah.
good Lord.
You know the things that have green? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So anyway, so that was I mentioned that on Sunday, and I
We listen.
didn't think, yes, I didn't think to have the picture because it was something that just came to me at the moment, so I didn't have pictures to back it up.
Thank you
so.
for your generosity of sharing.
So let's try that. Let's see if these videos are worth any of our time here. So I'm just going to start at the beginning and see. This one's 55 seconds long. Let's see if it plays. I don't know if there's sound. I'll narrate it. Here we go. Well, maybe not. Okay, this is on the Sea of Galilee, on the boat that I showed you a picture of what they look like. And I'm not going to play the sound of this, so I'll just kind of narrate. But, and so this is how this is a very touristy kind of a thing, but they turn off the engines and you can meditate and pray on the Sea of Galilee, so it's,
That's me.
yeah. Okay, so so apparently that's all of that one. And this might be, this is a continuation of it, I believe, so, yeah. So, I'm sorry for the delay here.
We're not seeing it at all.
Okay, I've got it, okay, thank you. Since I'm opening one, I've got to reshare it on another screen, so here we go. Thank you, Pam. All right, you didn't miss anything because the other one was just like this. Can you see it now?
Yes, I'm sorry, I had muted again. Yes,
Okay, all right, thank you.
thank you.
So we had prayer, we would sing, and then our guide. Now, the person with the beard here is a different guide. They had local guides. And then our other guide was in the white shirt. So I'm gonna have to be deft here as much as I can.
Were those all men on board? Did you have Chris with you?
No, it was all men.
Okay.
Yeah. The group that I came, they took pastors, and they've taken women groups of pastors, but this was men. And one of the things is, as they paid for it, they said, I'm sorry, we can't bring spouses. That was.
Somebody actually sponsored you.
Well, yeah, it was all, this is a mission of the Knights Templar, of all things. And I had 2 members in the Presbyterian Church in Muskegon. I haven't shared this yet, let me stop it. I got to show this to the people at home.
That's great.
And if this is too boring, please forgive me and tell me, where is it?
Well, that picture's kind of boring right there.
Okay, yeah.
That's pretty.
The Knights Templar, part of the Masons, I don't know how they're related, and I don't know their whole deal, but I checked them out. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be beholden to anything, but they go back to the days of escorting pilgrims to Jerusalem, back in the days of the Crusades and that kind of stuff. I mean, crazy stuff. But they were the knights that were the escorts for protection. And since that era has ended, they still exist, and they have, at least in the United States, they've changed their mission to still escorting people to the Holy Land, but they raise the funds, I don't know how they do it, to sponsor every pastor that was on this trip, paid for 100%.
Wow.
Oh, wow. And they've done this since the 50s. They've gone every year with several groups a year. And so we had about 25, 30 in our group. This is tedious, I'm sorry. That's the wrong one. To get the right buttons here to show it at home. Okay, and this is just too much repetitiveness, so I'll get off of these. But so anyway, so they're still escorting people to the Holy Land, but they think they get the most bang for their resources by taking pastors. And they take us for 10 days, and they say, we won't walk where Jesus walked, we'll run where Jesus walked, because they want to put in as many stops and as much content as they can. And then their hope is that we will come back and do this, share. And that all of our teaching, no matter if it's showing about our trip, or even if I'm just talking about some other study, it's going to enhance. And for me, the Holy Land was a big mystery for most of my life. It was just kind of this mystical, and so it's good to have been there to get a perspective that is a little different. Here is at the chapel, it looks like, with where the Beatitudes. Oh gosh, what am I doing here? I'm punching the wrong buttons. There we go. Share, thank you. Come It keeps changing places. There it is. Boy.
Oh, that's so pretty.
So yeah, this is that chapel that that I sang in. And, okay, well, maybe I'll let this be the last one for now. We can always come back and do some more, but this is stuff you've already seen, so I thought we might be getting some new material here, but since it's not, I'll bail out of that for now and go to our regularly scheduled programming. It's funny how hard it is for me to see the right one when it's right in front of my face here. Okay, I believe that is now showing for the people at home. Okay, so here we are, and you see we went from number 18, Beit Shean, or it says Beisan there, Beit Shean, and we took a long ride, long relatively, I mean, a couple of hours or so, I don't know, in the bus, parallel with the Jordan River. We didn't see it the whole way, and I told you some places it's like a creek. But we saw everything from arid desert land to foothills of mountains to the mountainsides that had shepherds with all kinds of their goats and sheep running around. We saw settlements that we would pass. And this is a very hotly contested area. This is part of what they call the West Bank, all of this from the Jordan River. When we got down towards Jericho, we could tell that we were getting near the city. And it's very different from Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is the modern city. Jerusalem, they intentionally try to keep as reverent to the traditions as possible. So if they build a new building, they try to use the same kind of stonework and that kind of stuff. So, and yes, it's very touristy. But as we went in, then we passed where the site of Jericho is believed to be, and I didn't see any particular sites there, so I don't know what, if anything, is preserved. And then we drove into Jerusalem, and so this represents some of the views. Here's the Bedouins that they have. There is an eclectic mix of people who live there. I mentioned the Druze last time, and they are not Jewish, but they are loyal to Israel, and they're hard workers, and they have their own kind of culture, and so they are Israelis, and they are highly prized as citizens, but they're their own thing, and they do things their own way, and you'll find that there's segments of that everywhere. A different kibbutz will be here, and that community has come together, and they've pledged to live in a communal way that is agricultural based usually, and so they have that, and it's very different. There's a whole network of Bedouins who live in somewhat temporary, somewhat permanent, depending upon the seasons and how things work there. This was reminiscent of what I saw when we visited Mexico. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Kind of shacks. Now, some of these were more permanent structures, but you can see there's shacks and there's cloths hanging for that kind of stuff. Humble kinds of dwellings. But as in Mexico, when I stayed in those homes that were made out of pallets and cardboard and thought that I was not going to survive, there was a feel of family and values of faith and generosity that just almost put me to shame, did put me to shame. It was amazing, and the clothes were immaculate. Their whites were whiter than any whites I've ever seen. And the kids would go out to school, and the third grader would take care of the 4-year-old, and they would go across town on the buses and whatever, and it's just remarkable. So anyway, I'm digressing into Mexico when I should be on Israel, but this is when we were passing Jericho area. And so there, it's hard to see, but those black specks are all livestock. I'm not even gonna be able to tell from this if they're sheep or goats,
Sheep or cattle.
but you see how they are. And if you had a magnifying glass and more patience than me, you probably would be able to cite a shepherd. I'm not sure where, but there was a shepherd with every flock. It was not known. In fact, a flock this large, I wonder if they would have more than one. Ken Bailey said that in the parable of the 99 sheep and the one that was lost, he said he talked to shepherds everywhere. You'd never just have one shepherd for that large.
For that large flock, yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Are all those houses?
no, what you're seeing are the rocks.
Okay.
This is
all right.
all the rocky formations on the hillsides. So, and there's some greenery, so they can graze there. It's sparse, but they learn how to make do. And the shepherds know seasonally where to go and how to not overgraze and that kind of stuff.
But these would have been sheep and goats, not cows, right?
Sheep or goats never cut, yeah, I didn't see anything for, I'm sure they have cattle, you know, and but not like I was used to seeing in Kansas. Okay. So here we are with a map of the city. And I think what I did, yes, I started to fill in pieces. So you see when I advance, now there's a little piece, and that is the temple area. So there's just, it's hard to see, but there's a little darker shade there. That's the temple court. So now the places, there's Mount Zion, they call it. That's at number 1. So that's right at the edge there. And we stood and overlooked it. So, but Mount Zion is where that number 1 is. Are you seeing it okay?
Yes.
All right. Number 2, oh wait, okay, here we go. This, in the entrance to the city on the gates, this is where I said that the stones are all pockmarked with bullet holes.
You can tell that in perspective too.
Yes, yeah, you can see the people standing there. And at every entrance, and I'm not seeing it here, but oh yes, there it is. It's way at the bottom. At every entrance, there's some sort of commemorative piece. And in this case, I don't know if I'm showing it or not, but it's that's some kind of a shell casing.
Wow.
So, okay, so, and the cenacle kitchen, Cena, I think this is the place of the Last Supper. So, let me make sure. So, yes, the room of the Last Supper is on the sign there. So the cenacle is the room of the Last Supper. But King David's tomb is nearby, and Dormition Abbey is where, I hope it'll come to me, there's a famous tomb there. I don't I think that's to Mary's on her. We'll get there and I'll see.
So that building right there,
Yes,
is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
That is.
Hagia Sion. Hagia is holy in Greek, and Sion, I'm sure, is Zion. And
Would you go up inside it?
we did, in fact.
Oh, wow.
Here you go. This is an area that is believed to be something of the upper room, or like the upper room.
Wow.
Of the Last Supper. So whether or not this is authentically the place, or if it's been changed over the years, but this is the commemorative site that some will say, this is where it was before these buildings were here, and now these buildings are here. That's kind of how that usually goes.
Were the arches for architectural purposes? Were they for religious purposes, or for just, that's what was best to hold the ceiling up?
Well, all of the above. It was the dominant architecture of the different influences that had come by there. So it was done because it was meant to be impressive and ornate and beautiful, like the columns, as you see. Those look like, to me, Corinthian columns, maybe, at least this one. But I'm sure the arch structure, for the years and centuries that it lasts, those builders had,
Could it also be that the Jewish faith uses canopies in everything? And that would create like a canopy effect?
yeah. And you saw at the temple where the Beatitudes
Yes.
were, that over the
Yes.
the little table that was in there. Yeah, so a covering seems to be part of a sign of something that is holy.
Is that a little room back there to the left?
Yeah, well, there's stairs going
It's
down.
going down,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Oh, I see.
That's just over the stairs.
again, this is the commemorative upper room. So new construction as far as it doesn't go back to Jesus' time, but the site was commemorated where it was, so they built this as the commemorative, and this is, I'm sure, centuries old, so. Now, in there, in this room, is this, I don't know if it's brass or bronze.
Is that Jesse's tree?
It is, it is commemorative of peace because of the olive branches, but it's also, as you see, it's cut, and yet it has sprouted. It is reminiscent of the Old Testament Isaiah that says, a shoot shall come from the stump of Jesse. And so this is the idea that although King David's line seemed to be cut off totally, Jesus was in the line of King David and came as king, a shoot from the stump of Jesse. So even though it seemed like it was dead and gone, and so this commemorates the sprouting of the new from the
So
old.
if that is grass, then all of those branches are artificial shoots.
Yes, yeah, this is all artificial. This is not living. So, yeah, everything here is artificial, but it was a sculpture that was made intentionally for this with that symbolism. So, okay, so now we are in the vicinity of the Tomb of David here. So I'm circling where it says cenacle, that's the upper room. Okay, and so we get to the place where this is the commemorative Tomb of David. And it's a very small, cramped area. People come in there to meditate and pray. So, and I don't have much for photos to show. And you see the woman with the head covering. And like I mentioned at the Western Wall, that men cover. So there's a sign of this covering that has something to do with respect for the holy. Okay, Dormition Abbey. Oh, well, this tells me what I need to know here. Beautiful. I want to say this is where it is believed that Mary is laid to rest, or at least commemorated. And so there you have in the artwork in the ceiling the typical way that they would show Mary with the you can see the halo, but then Jesus as a child with a little bit brighter halo. So all of that. And then do you see, I'm not going to be able to make sense of the symbols. I wish I could. It looks like an omega there, but it may not be. All this is in Latin then, around the top here. And there are pictures of biblical figures that line here, prophets, apostles, and so forth. And so, and they'll have little devotional areas. This is kind of a rotunda type shape here. So there's devotional areas to either side with little individual photos. And one of the things I learned about the iconography that they use so prominently and did in those times, and even today in the Orthodox tradition, in the Roman Catholic tradition, and that when the reformers were sitting around in the Swiss Alps in cold winter evenings thinking about how the church needed to be reformed, they were looking at, you shall not make graven images. And so that's why basically our churches don't have this kind of artwork. In fact, some of them went really stark. It was as plain as could be because they really kind of overcorrected, I think. So I kind of, I think some of this has a real purpose. But as a good Protestant, when I see people looking at an icon, before I used to kind of think, since changed my perspective and my judgment of that. Part of it is that when people came to the worship centers like this, many of them were and still are illiterate. And they learned the stories by the pictures. So some of them, they have hundreds of pictures. And so now it's opening up my mind. I take for granted that, I've grown up being able to read, know the Bible stories, all that stuff.
There's on the island of, I think it was Hawaii or Maui, they have a church. And the church, go up to it, and it is literally stained glass everywhere, and it tells the story of the Bible, and then the New Testament is up there. And they really spend a lot of time telling you that's how people learned about the
Yes.
Bible, because people couldn't read, but you can visually see. Yeah, it's pretty.
And when people then come and there might be a photo of a saint, there might be an icon, I'm sorry, photo was a bad word, icon, and the people who paint those, it's a craft. It is a lifelong learned, passed down tradition. And it's one where cheap imitations are identified as cheap imitations. The real thing is the real thing. And so I'll see people, this was more common in Greece, but I would see it other places, but we entered a church and there would be an icon of whatever patron saint. And the people might come in and bow or pray, or they might even kiss it. And again, as a Westerner, we'd say, well, idol worship. What I've learned is that they're not worshiping the icon. They're venerating, which means the way I translate it is worshiping through what's behind it. So, and then I came up with this idea that those of us that have grandchildren, if I come home and I see Chris holding an 8x10 of Natalie hugging it, I know she's not in love with the wood frame and the glass and the photo paper. I know that she's loving Natalie by hugging that. So I think when people use icons, that to me is the proper understanding, that when they're bowing to an icon of Jesus, for example, Mary, they are worshiping through it to what's behind it, just like that illustration. So yes, this is the area that is commemorated where Mary is believed to have been laid to rest. So both holy and touristy. I mean, they've kind of managed to somehow balance that in ways that seem to work, because it attracts people who are there for holy reasons and there for tourist reasons and for both. So. On the ceiling then, appropriately, Jesus is in the center, but all around Jesus are women figures of the Bible. Here's a nice one for you, holding a head. Anybody guess who that is?
Yeah, that's Herodias' daughter,
John
who
the
actually
Baptist.
had John the Baptist.
I don't think so. I think that's actually Deborah. That because she was the judge. She was one of the judges. Now, we could, Patty, when you watch this on Zoom, look that up for
Look
us.
that up.
Because now,
Because I didn't know anybody
when
else.
I-
I was not thinking of anybody else who was holy.
Deborah was one of the few judges, well, she was a female judge, I mean, good Lord. And a judge was not with the robe and that kind of stuff. The judge was the chief. And she was a great military leader. What an amazing thing. And she was known for conquering in battle and killing the general of the other side, Sisera, and she drove a spike in his head.
So that would have been Sisera's head.
And
I think so, but
And-
Ethel thinks it's,
no, you may be right, because if that's Jesus, why would they have a commemorative spot
Yeah.
right there?
yeah, I don't think they're wanting to
I don't think
commemorate
so.
John the Baptist
Yeah,
being killed.
Yeah, you're right.
I think this
You're
is
right.
more of the hero
Yeah.
Deborah,
Yeah, I think you're right.
who saved the
Yeah.
people by leading them in battle.
Yeah.
Samson was one of the judges, and here we have Deborah, and
Right.
Also, her clothing and everything looks more like a a person of ruling class, a judge instead of the.
Just from the icons, the one I'm circling here with the sheaf of grain,
Yeah, that's Ruth who picked the grain.
there you go. So that would be Ruth, very good. And I'm not gonna be able to identify them all, but I would guess that Elizabeth would be either here or around, Mary's cousin.
Oh, yeah, John's mother.
In Luke, that, yes, so John the Baptist's mother. Okay, so you get an idea of how they have ornately,
Who would be the lady right there? There's a little shepherd boy, it looks like, but is that a shepherdess?
yeah, these are all women. So, and I don't know that it's a shepherd.
She has, it's a crown with, coming down on the.
I'm gonna say Esther.
Ah, that makes sense.
What would be the 1, 2 on the other side? Now, is Mary Magdalene to you on there?
Oh, that could be Eve. Is that an apple in her hand?
Yes, this is Eve. Here we go. Thank you. Yeah, so we've got Eve. So we're doing pretty good here. When Patty gets back to us to report, since I've not done the research and don't remember.
That's quite interesting.
I've got some fantastic pictures here on my phone about Deborah.
Yes,
And
me
so
too.
They're wild. She's really strong holding this man.
Okay,
Okay, is that right?
so next, again, and it's all concentrated in this area just outside the walls of the city. This is outside the walls of Jerusalem, all of this is, on Mount Zion and in that area. So St. Peter and Gallicantu is the name of the cathedral or church or chapel, whatever you want to call it there. And when I think of trying to say what Engalicantu means, how about, anybody know enough Spanish to say gallo?
To say what?
Gallo, Gallo, gallo.
Gallo.
Well, you know pollo. Pollo is,
Chicken.
Gallo is a rooster.
bingo, yes.
Very good.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So
Say Peter and the rooster. huh?
why would the rooster be significant with St. Peter?
Because it crows 3 times.
This is the commemorative site where Peter was
Wow.
said to have.
He denied it 3 times
Yeah.
before the rooster crowed.
And
When the
I,
rooster crows, you
Yeah.
denied me 3
3
times.
times. So you got it, excellent. So we can, and I am a witness that when you go to Ken's house at certain times of the day, you hear roosters crow. Because the back neighbors have roosters illegally, but that's okay. I grew up in town, but they had roosters across the street, and I remember we had peacocks running around, remember that?
I have peacocks, but not roosters.
So here is that church, St. Peter and Gallicantu. And now, unfortunately, my little, I don't know how to move this little button up here, but you can see at the top of the green there is the rooster, up on the cross.
I see,
So it's not a weather vane, it's an actual
wow.
commemorative rooster
Wow.
up on top of the chapel there. So,
That's pretty cool.
and to be honest with you, standing on Mount Zion overlooking this and hearing roosters crow, that's a heady kind of a
Yeah, I'm
moment.
sure. I bet it is.
Because they still have roosters running around and all that, you know, it's really typical.
Where are you? Are you anywhere near the Garden of Gethsemane?
No, let me take you back here. So here is the area that we're at, number 2.
Okay,
Outside of the walls of Jerusalem here,
okay,
the temple is in this area here.
all right.
And so this will be the western wall and so forth. And so now the Garden of Gethsemane this is a valley in this area here, the valley of Hebron, we'll get to it.
Okay.
So there's a valley, so you're going down the mountain, and then you go back up the other, so it's a valley.
Okay.
And so it's gonna be over in this area,
Okay.
that the Garden of Gethsemane, the Mount of Olives, where Lazarus and Mary and Martha lived, all over there. And there's some interesting pieces that we have that we can show from that.
Is it as far away as it looks on the map?
It's all walking distance if you have patience. 35,000 steps, I don't have any
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
Peter
Peter
did
made it.
So now this is in,
That's beautiful.
here is inside St. Peter and Galakantu. Here's Jesus in chains or in ropes or tied up, bound, whatever, on trial. So that would be the occasion of Peter outside warming his hands and somebody says, oh, you're with him. Oh, no, I never heard of him. 3 times. So, yeah. And you will see the crucifixes there. That is much more common to the Catholic Church and the Orthodox traditions. I asked that when I was a kid. Why does my friend Pat, why does his cross in his room have Jesus on it? Why does our cross not? Does anybody know?
Because we celebrate the risen Lord.
Yes, and that comes from the reformers. They wanted to emphasize the resurrection instead of the crucifixion. So, is there a right or wrong? They're both right. Yeah, and so if I see someone who, I've been given crucifixes before, and I accept them with honor. So I have 1 or 2 in my office. I'm not to the point where, we just don't do that. Again, the reformers said you're not supposed to make an image, so, and when I was in driver's ed training, I remember Homer Berry was the basketball coach and my driver's ed teacher, and I remember the book, and we had classroom time, this was in high school, and now I've lost my train of thought. Why would I go there? What was I talking about?
Crucifix.
Oh,
You have some in your office.
You wore a crucifix.
no, Pat Barrett, well, he was Pat's dad.
Yeah.
Darn, but there was some reason why I said that. I don't know if it's gonna come back to me. That's the kind of day this is. So are you all ready to get up and leave and throw tomatoes and stuff like that?
No. Oh, wow. All the color.
Yes, it's very colorful,
It's beautiful.
very ornate. Much of this is individual mosaic.
So is that writing in Latin or?
Much of it is in Latin, yeah. In fact, I'm sure.
Who is that? Who is
Like
that
Notre
sitting?
Dame?
Yes. I'm sorry?
Who is that sitting between the 2 crosses?
The palm branch. And I'm trying to make out what that is.
Ethel, come on.
It's not Ethel.
We're doing where she sits in church. And this is to give us an idea.
If you ever see me sitting like that, would you tell me to put my knees together?
I'm sorry, I'm silly today.
It's all right, we all are.
So-
That was probably pretty disrespectful, but
So below Jesus on the cross, are those 2 women? Or are those, is one a woman and one a man?
This, I'm guessing, this looks like a woman to me.
right.
Yeah.
And that,
That does too.
I will guess, Mary and John.
John.
When Jesus said to John, behold your mother.
Uh-huh.
See,
Yeah, yeah.
remember, in that culture, now she was without,
A male
yeah,
representative.
and so
Yeah.
he was saying, take care of her.
How old was Joseph? He didn't, Mary's husband.
Mary's husband Joseph, yes. We don't know exactly, but he would have been significantly older.
So was Joseph around when Jesus started his ministry, would you think?
There's no record of that. The last record in the Bible, now there may be some extra biblical records that have traditions that I'm not aware of, but the last Bible account would be when Jesus was bar mitzvah age.
Oh, wow.
because they had pilgrimage to Jerusalem, about 13 years old. And and they would travel in a big clan, and the clan took off, and Jesus was in the temple, and they get a couple days journey out, and Mary's like, well, I thought you had it. Joseph said, I thought you had it. And so they go back, and they gather Jesus, and
Do we have a definitive number of how many siblings Jesus had from Mary, his mom?
probably not definitive, because there are those who even dispute that he had blood siblings.
Okay.
We believe that that's the case. We believe James, for example, of Jerusalem was his brother. And from the Gospel's own account, his brothers and his mother came even when they thought he was off his cracker.
And they named 3 of them in one of these Bible places, 3 brothers and sisters. They just say and sisters.
So I'm gonna,
He had family.
all right, so I don't think that says Notre, like Notre Dame. I think it says Votre.
Could be.
And I don't know if I can get a good translation of this or not.
Jesus was around 14.
I'm gonna try and see what I get. So,
But I don't think he would have left home to start his ministry if if his sibling brothers were too young, because he would not have left his mother.
So if we think about this in a timeline, if Jesus, if we think that Joseph might have, died around Jesus's bar mitzvah, then Mary would have had to have conceived the siblings between Jesus being the eldest and Jesus being 13.
But just personally, I don't think he died that early, because he was in the group that traveled. That was the last time we heard of him, and the next time we hear anything about Jesus, he's not 12 or a teenager anymore. He's now starting his ministry.
Why do you suppose we don't hear about Joseph a lot? Is there,
Well,
missing books that talked
could
about
be,
Joseph?
but I think the reason we hear Mary and not Joseph is that Mary was the one that was conceived
Right.
as a
was
virgin.
the only one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
she's,
he was just the husband that supported her and took care of the family.
I must either not have the right language in here, or, because I'm not getting a good translation, so. All right. Moving on. Here we go.
Renee has found out that according to the New Testament, Jesus had at least 2 sisters and 4 brothers named James, Joseph, which is short for Joseph Jr., Simon, and Judas, also called Jude.
Dude, yeah.
And 2 sisters.
And 2
unnamed.
sisters.
And 2
Unnamed.
sisters.
That's what mine says.
Interesting.
Thank you for that. Okay, so as I described to you, the cistern, all right,
Oh, my goodness.
here is where they threw them in.
Uh-huh.
So, and this is, they're not
that where the
really
water goes
steps,
down?
it's more of a slope. When it was a water cistern, that's where the water would flow in.
Yeah, it does.
In through here, but when they used it as a jail, and now you see in the back, the staircase, which is,
Right.
yeah, that wasn't part of it. But this is the type of stone, it was just solid rock, and it's not smoothly chiseled. It was just,
Chunked up.
yeah,
It will scrape you pretty good.
so you can imagine when they slick that up with olive oil, you try to hang on to the post and try and get yourself so that you could get down a little bit before you had to drop the 12 feet. So this is inside. And so you see it, yeah, that's a good 12 feet.
Yeah.
This is the other view from the other end of it.
Yeah.
So that's a heck of a drop, even if you're hanging onto the post, if you could with the olive oil.
Yeah.
And all the walls were jaggedy like that, floor too. And apparently it was efficient for water when they needed it that way. And this is the little hole at the top. So your only little source of light, other than those 2 windows, if they had any, I think that was probably darkening most of the time. And that hole, if they had to lift me up out of there, they couldn't. It's too small for me. I'd never get through. It's tiny.
People are smaller than two.
Now they've got lights, of course, but in Jesus' time, it would have been pitch black and cold and damp, smelly. So I will now try. Oop, I lost somebody here. I lost Pam. I'm sorry.
Oh, she said she might have to cut out because she had the visiting nurse coming at 12.
Oh, okay.
so-
Well,
so-
I wouldn't have blamed her if she just said, this is for the bird. But let me try to see if I can find that particular video, because that one's poignant.
Is it 39?
I don't think so, but I'll give it a shot here. I think to make my icons bigger. No, this is a different one.
No.
So,
Yeah.
That's
sorry,
okay.
I saw the
let me put that-
rock look.
I hate not being prepared like this. I usually have time to do it, but I just was too wiped out yesterday to really think. Large icons, extra large icons, there we go. Looks interesting, so I'm just gonna pull it up here. Because when we were at Mount Zion, I'll do all of these now, that I can kind of get a bearing of some of the views. Let me go.
That's not a dead thing, is it?
It is not dead.
Oh, good.
Is that a sheep or a goat?
Looks like a dog.
It was a dog.
A big dog.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, that's
Here's the view from Mount Zion.
Wow.
So, and you see, there's more modern buildings outside of this, but again, they're all kind of the same color, so they blend in. I didn't show it to the people at home. Let me start it again.
17.
I'm sorry. Okay, I gotta quick share this. Go, share. Where is it? Come on, bingo. Okay, so now they can see it at home.
Good.
So this is Mount Zion overlooking to the southeast. Okay, so that's that. And then go to this one here.
That's Let Sleeping Dogs Alive.
Quick share, this one is, oh, that one wasn't a good one. Okay, that was a dud. So let's go to the story of the dog here.
Okay. Only if it's happy.
Share screen, dog, boom. Oh, it's very brief, but I'll play it again here if I can.
Who's Lassie?
Alright.
Lassie, go home.
Okay, I missed it somehow. Done it? It's such a short clip. I can't catch it fast enough to share it
What
with
was
people
the
at home.
point of the dog? Just because they had one?
Yeah, well, and I saw that he had something there. And yeah, it was, I mean, you see that everywhere. But this is where I was hearing the roosters crowing and all that stuff, and I thought there was something more significant to that, so. Flew on me for that. Very compact,
Oh, wow.
with all of those dwellings.
On top of each other.
And then what are all those
Terracing
Yeah,
there.
what is a terrace on that?
I will let you know.
It's like a labyrinth.
Yeah, that's a good thing. This is a good video. I wish it would let me replay it. That's really not good. There's no button to replay it. Huh, that's not fair. I at least shared it so people could see it. I'm gonna share it again, because I might try and pause it.
Yeah.
Is it this one? Yes, it's this one. So I'll let it start, and I'm gonna pause it. Now I'll share it. Now I can control it better. By the time we get done, I'll have it down. Maybe. Okay, so these are modern dwellings to the south and southeast of the city. And I'm going to be panning from the south to the east. So that's the direction we're headed. And when we see this, what's going on up here,
Yeah, what is that?
that is a cemetery.
Oh, my gosh.
So
Did they have grave markers?
Or is it just?
It is,
Not like we're used to seeing, so, I don't know for the, and probably for the more wealthy, this would be where they were, and so they usually might have some kind
So
of,
those barriers, it looks like, are those like fences around in the cemetery? Or
Yes,
benches
yeah,
to sit on?
they're-
stone,
yes,
And
it's
you
all stone to go with it, and there's different,
so did they pick the stone up, put the body in, and then put the stone back? How could it be a cemetery?
no, well, there's ground, I mean, to do burials and things like that, but
Ground
there's,
is
so it's,
between
yeah,
the slots.
yes.
And see the road back there with all the buses
Yeah, I
lined up?
see the
Right.
road. Huh.
Boy, that's a big building right
Yeah,
there.
what's the?
Well, now we're getting to the city walls.
Mhm.
So when you pan up, now we're gonna look at the city walls here. I guess I have to hit play because I'm gonna drag it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah.
okay, so,
That was it.
interesting. Sharing, oh,
I'd like to see all of it. Could you have it by next week, just fly over?
yeah, if I really get my act together, don't count on it.
I'll take you to 2 weeks.
Yeah, I
Pause.
think I'd rather go to Branson.
Oh, dear.
I'm gonna be mad at Branson now, darn it.
Yeah.
Well, it's just another part of the country we have to pray for,
Did he say it so?
so we don't get hit with tornadoes.
Okay, I'm sharing this so people can see it. Now, here's a little satellite dish, so
Yeah.
that,
Right in the area with the ruined wall.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's the, and that would have been the, I think that was Bartholomew's satellite dish. back in the day. Okay. Boy, I wish I could find that for you.
Oh, the sister.
The cistern, yeah. I know I have that video, and I wonder if I saved it elsewhere because it was so special.
Why is there a zipper?
That's a
Compressed
condensed
file.
folder, yeah. I'm gonna do one more try and then I'm gonna go, get
The
off
answer to
this.
that question, but I thought that was. Whoa.
What's that?
Yeah, boy. My video skills were not very good.
Top
at that time,
row, left to right, fourth picture, what was that?
so. Okay,
Top row.
This one here?
What's that?
okay. On the walls of the city, let me pause it when it comes up here. Wake up, computer, you can do it, there you go.
Well, it's a building.
There's actually a church right inside
Solar
it.
panels.
With the church bells, we heard these ring.
Oh,
Let me share it
Yeah,
with
with
the
the
people at home.
satellite dish and the.
All right, let me share it. Okay, now the people at home can see it. So yeah, and so there's stuff going on inside the walls of the city. This is an active, living city.
Hi, BJ.
Oh, hi, BJ.
Hi, BJ.
Oh, please do. Yeah, in fact, now you're required to just come here all the time.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll
so
be
that-
finishing up in about 10 minutes here, so.
That's fine.
And I'm gonna forget now the yellow and white flag, but that is significant for what that church is inside there. Let me play the video and see what else it tells us. If I have the sound going, you might hear church bells. I know that when I walked around the walls of the city, I heard that. So,
Wow, that's how the stone is.
yeah. So this is just outside the city wall, it looks like. So we were on the city wall.
Do they live multi-generational in their homes? Pastor Jim, do they live multi-generational?
Yes, well, I don't, yeah, and still, that's more common today than it is here, for sure. So. All right, so this is looking outside the walls. The church was on the inside of the walls, so now I'm getting it. So,
Any of the places along the Mediterranean all look like that today.
yeah,
Wow, that's.
okay. Interesting. Stop share, close this. Okay, back to And we'll wrap things up here shortly.
You talk like those people in that building. Is that inside the wall or outside the wall? That was us.
Well, my group was shown there where we were standing on the
We
wall.
were talking about
Our group, it was us. She's being goofy.
I may have put the wrong one up there. Let me try again.
There's those people, see, they're inside the wall.
some large flowers.
At least I can control this and get where I want to go.
Oh, I saw the picture of you where you were sitting on the urinal.
Ken doesn't want to. Ken's not interested in that, so I'm trying to keep away from it.
Ken's not the only one.
And now I've lost my cursor.
Let's see.
TMI is right. TMI is right.
Come on. Quiet. Changed on here. Okay, here we go. Let's go to slideshow. Current slide. Okay, so the steps to the, what I think I said Kidron Valley. It's Kidron. Kidron Valley. Again, that's, the Kidron Valley runs this way, and we were looking at, the cemetery was on the other side, the Mount of Olives side of the Kidron Valley. And then the temple side and the city side was this, so the valley goes down like that.
Do you actually have a picture of Gethsemane?
Yes, several. This is a very historic site. This is one of the few places they said, this is authentic. They can date it, they know what it is. These steps are very much believed to be the steps that Jesus was led up after his arrest. He came down, they brought him down from the Garden of Gethsemane into the valley, came up, and they came through the Kidron Valley up toward the city. And I've got two pictures of this, there's a wider one, but these steps are believed to be authentic to that time. There's kind of looking down from there. So, and here's a depiction of him being bound and led by the soldiers and mocked going up the stairs. Okay, all right. Akeldama is the next thing, Fields of Blood. I believe that commemorates where Judas hanged himself. Yes, in fact, they have a chapel there where it's believed that Judas hanged himself. So this is the commemorative site for that. Now, we're looking into what's called the Hinnom Valley. So this is now, the Kidron Valley was here, and now we've kind of curved around. This is the Hinnom Valley. And it says Gehenna. Now, how many of you know of that word? It's associated with the place of the dead. It's associated with hell. It was a garbage dump, and it was constantly smoldering from the burning piles and things like that. And so oftentimes when people think of woe and suffering and so forth, and I associate Gehenna with people who think of the end times and hell and the everlasting fire. Well, this was a dump and a burn pit that was constantly going. So.
Was that the valley where they sacrificed the children?
I'm not aware of that. So yeah, I couldn't say. I'm not sure. Ask Patty when you see her.
Yes, I know.
This is a Greek monastery, Saint Onufrius, and it's built on the Fields of Blood where Judas is believed to have hanged himself. Okay. I wonder if, are we saturated for today?
Yes.
So, okay, so a preview of, if you all show up again, I guess when you stop showing up, I'll know you're done with this. And I didn't do any Bible verses today, so shame on me. That was not my intention. I will hopefully,
I was going to say, we have reference to where the Matthew.
I will try next time And this is a good preview because this is all very interesting. We will see the Mount of Olives. We will see, gosh, is that going to be out here? Yeah, Mount of Olives is going to be here. And number 2, Pater Noster Church. Latin people, Pater, Father, and then Noster, Nuestro in Spanish. Nuestros?
First.
No, that's our.
Oh, ours, yes.
Our Father. It's the church of the Lord's Prayer. So we'll see that, and many countries contributed to the building of that chapel, and they have their seals. And so I've got a picture of the United States seal up on the ceiling for one of those. So the Chapel of the Ascension, where Jesus is again said to have ascended to the Father, very suspiciously in doubt that you just can't prove that it's the actual stone, but that's the way it's depicted. I'm not going to remember Dominus Flavi. I'll have to remember that. Oh, and I had that wrong. I said that about the Lord's Prayer Church. It's the Church of All Nations. And it's all going to be in this area here. The Church of All Nations is the Basilica of the Agony that depicts the site of Jesus' prayer in the garden. The Basilica of Agony. And then the Garden of Gethsemane, and I've got lots of good photos of that. And we ended with a Holocaust memorial, which I can't do justice to us with the pictures, but I can tell you about it. Inside the memorial itself, I don't believe photos are allowed, and it wouldn't work anyway. So with that, thank you for your patience, especially with my kind of disheveled presentation today.
I can give you the reference for the 2 sisters and 4 brothers of Jesus. It
Okay.
says Matthew 13:55, if you want to look that up.